Have a listen to this.
Hey, little girl, comb your hair, fix your makeup. Soon he will open the door. Don't think because there's a ring on your finger, you needn't try anymore.
It's that line. It's that
The whole
line.
song is shocking. Now, the lyrics in that song might seem outdated, but not for a growing community calling themselves trad wives.
Well, traditional wives have been reverting to a 1950s style of living, spending their days cooking, cleaning and putting their husbands first.
Well, Alena Pettit is proud to call herself a trad wife, and she joins us now. It's lovely to see you.
Good
Thank
morning.
you very much.
Good morning. I'm really happy you unchained me from the sink to be here.
Oh, you did. Good.
So what is your life, then? What is a trad wife?
A trad wife, do you know, growing up, I was asked several times by teachers what I wanted to be when I was growing up, and I would always say a housewife. That was just what I wanted to be, and I would get laughed at all the time. So I kind of went and had a career in London, and my self-esteem was just rock bottom because I wasn't living my true calling. And
You're a marketing manager.
yeah, I was a marketing manager in the beauty industry, and it was a really creative, lovely job, but I just absolutely flourished at home. When I'd get home, I felt like, finally in my place where I really want to be.
But you met your husband at work.
Yeah, through work, yeah.
Through work, you were working together. So he fell in love with you as a working woman, and you said actually you sort of put on a bit of a false impression towards him, like you were the sort of faux feminist, if you like.
Well, I wouldn't say a faux feminist. I would say I am a feminist because I believe feminism to be about choices. But there are so many...
But you'd pretend to be... If he held the door open for you, you'd pretend that actually you didn't want him to do that.
Well, no, because I enjoyed that. I think I was pretending to... Not to him, I would pretend to the outside world. So there was a spell where I wasn't working when we were just dating, actually, and we kind of lived that lifestyle during that time. And the external pressure for me to go back to work was huge because obviously we really value people according to what job title they have and how much money they make. And there's so many women that feel like me. I've had thousands of emails that say, do you know what, all I've ever wanted to do was keep a home, have children and look after a husband. And there's no really positive role models for us out there anymore. And I think that's why a lot of us defer to the 1950s, because to us that seems like that was the last time the housewife was celebrated, you know, kind of on the global scene, and also the fashion as well, because now it's very much Kardashian and, you know, Love Island and getting it all out and things like that. And it's a very feminine, ladylike way of dressing. So I just think it's not to do with the ideals of the 50s because there's so much of that was wrong. It's almost just cherry-picking certain parts that we really identify with and applying it to a modern lifestyle.
He wrote your resignation letter and gave it to you, didn't he?
Yeah, because I was so scared to give it in myself because of the toxic environment. It was just a really unnatural environment for me to be in. And I lost my identity. I just didn't know who I was. And he identified that I needed to get out.
Well, you have Christian views, and in your wedding vows, did you say obey?
I did.
And do you?
I did. Well, there are certain things I don't obey about, as, you know, any marriage, but because he is the breadwinner, that's his department to look after our family. It's almost like a business. He oversees major finances. So if I obviously want to spend some money on new sofas, he'll say no. But that's because he knows what's coming in and going out. I'm obviously aware of what's coming in and going out, but I don't concern myself with it largely.
He gives you an allowance?
He does give me an allowance, but it's essentially housekeeping money. It's no different from getting a paycheck and half of it going out for taxes, rent, mortgages, rates, insurances and things like that. I get the money to look after my department, which is the consumables in the household, like food and fuel for the car. And then, of course, there's some in there for me. And if I'm really frugal with it, whatever's left is mine. He's not poring over my receipts, seeing that I'm doing a good job and being a good little wifey.
And so you find yourself sort of constantly having to defend this lifestyle because, you know, there's, you know, people out there that are fighting for equality and want things to be equal, and they find what you're doing sort of flies in the face of that. But ultimately, I guess, it's choice, isn't it? It's having the choice to do what you want.
And we feel so degraded as well. Like, you know, so many women say, I feel so glad that you're finally speaking up because the narrative is, what do you do? And they say, I'm just a housewife, this word just. Actually, we've got about 20 jobs that we do, and it's a lot of multitasking, a lot of caretaking of other people, and we do it all the time. There's no day off. So it is a job. So I think what we're saying is we'd really love people to recognise
Do you think his role in your family is more important than yours, though, would you say?
I wouldn't want his responsibilities, and I think it's important to support him.
But by supporting him, are you saying that his role is more important? I just think... It's
No,
just that language, isn't it? When you have to go and ask if you can buy this sofa, or when you have to go and ask something, it's sort of... the power balance is different, isn't it?
Well, it's not a power balance, it's a marital consideration. And so many people say, do you have to ask him for his money? You're spending his money. When we got married, everything became ours. It's our home, our child, our life,
so why do you have to
our
ask
money.
then?
Because it's about consideration, it's budgeting. It's wise budgeting and frugality.
You're in charge of the household,
but I'm not going to take a large swathe of money to buy a fancy handbag for myself. Do you know what I mean? So it's just consideration.
If you could afford it, if it was there?
Because I think also a lot of people. Well, yes, if it was there, but then a lot of people that follow this lifestyle do kind of have a different view on money in particular. We have to make it stretch, so we do have to be frugal in order to make this lifestyle work today, where obviously people are having to have 2 jobs in order to afford it. We've actually given up a lot of luxuries in order to be able to afford the life that we live, but we find this more valuable than cash in the bank.
What about housework and stuff like that?
I do all of it.
Yeah, and you're happy with that?
Yeah, because
You enjoy it?
Do you know what? 3 million people are supporting Mrs Hinch in cleaning her home. She loves it, and we're all applauding. That's what I do.
Are you getting... So when he comes... I mean, this sort of 1950s model, we saw the images there, you know, do your hair, do your makeup.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel a pressure to do that for him when he gets in?
No, I also think that it's incredibly important to make an effort for your spouse as well. It's that funny...
But are you doing that for you or for him?
For
like,
me,
if you didn't do it,
self-esteem
would
for
he
me.
think of you differently?
Everybody feels better when they dress up. And also, I don't find it attractive when he's, you know, lounging around in sweatpants and stuff. He dresses up for me too. Right. And that line as well where you said about just because there's a ring on your finger, you don't need to, you know, make an effort anymore. You still need to date your spouse to keep the spark alive and find each other attractive and sexy and flirt. So it's just as much
as... That's more than putting a dress on and doing makeup, isn't it? I would hope.
Yeah, but that's part of it, because we do that when we're in the dating scene.
So he makes an effort.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I get up to open the door to greet him, he'll have flowers.
Hasn't he got a key?
Well, yeah, yes. That's semantics.
Right.
What about you've got a son,
Yes.
so he's growing up in this household, and I guess you grow up with what you know. You know, when he grows up and you know goes on and has relationships of his own, will he sort of have what is now a slightly less realistic view, because times have changed, I guess, from the 50s?
My husband and I both grew up in single-parent households where our mothers went out to work, so that was our view. We had the right to choose what we want, and my son will have that as well. It's just the fact that we have found a lifestyle that really helped our marriage to flourish.
Yeah.
And I think that so many other people should be able to explore that option too without being kind of mocked for it.
Yeah, no, understandably. I mean, it's ultimately
well, people go further.
Sure.
There's the home front life. That's cooking recipes from World War II. That's rationing, reinstalling the outside loos. You know, so people, you know, have gone even further.
That's a step too far for me. I wouldn't want to clean that one.
Gemma says if Alena can afford to stay at home, then fair play to her. However, what I like about living in 2020 is choice. I prefer living on my own, to be honest. But you're talking about choice.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, yes.
Gail says, I'm a stay-at-home mum. I spend my days doing the cooking, cleaning, washing and ironing while my partner is still at work, but hell will freeze over before I obey him.
I think you'll disagree with Rosalind. She said, these women have a choice. Fine. Women didn't have a choice in the 1950s. Don't compare yourself to women who struggled to fight for rights in everything they lived for.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really want to clarify. I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm not romanticising absolutely everything about the 50s. It is purely down to aesthetics and a few lifestyle choices, which we're all free to do these days. You could identify with the Victorian times if you want, and that's the beauty of living in 2020. We should be able to, all of us, be able to choose the right lifestyle for ourselves and not be judged for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to meet you.